Have you ever wondered what happens to your car after it abruptly stops being yours? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you what areas in South Africa are the highest risk, what might become of your prized possession after it gets stolen, and finally, how to fight back against the huge car theft problem in South Africa using today's video sponsor, Cartrak. Let's start the video off by talking about some of the most high-risk areas in South Africa, province by province. And since we're already here, and since, let's be honest, this is the best province, we're going to start with Mpumalanga. Mpumalanga being the best province might be a lie, especially considering some of the data we're going to go over right now. But yeah, Witbank is ranked 21 out of 30 police stations in the country with the highest hijacking reports. It's closely followed by the Forsman area, ranking 24th out of 30th. And then some honorable mentions include Delmas, Spinar, and Middelburg. They're not in the top 30 of car hijackings in the country. They are in the top 30 of truck hijackings though. So yeah, Mpumalanga not doing too hot in terms of hijackings. Moving on to Gauteng. Here you'll probably get hijacked for breathing incorrectly. Gauteng is one of the worst provinces in terms of hijackings in the entire country. In fact, it's not one of the worst provinces. It is the worst province in the entirety of South Africa in terms of hijackings, with 11,626 hijackings reported in 2022. Think about that. That's not 11, that's not 110, that is 11,626 hijackings happening in a single year. And I'm assuming these numbers have increased from then just because of what we've been seeing lately with how rampant body theft has been in recent times. A majority of these incidents occur in the Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Ekurhuleni regions, and in no particular order, here are the most affected areas. Olifantsfontein, I probably said that wrong. If you are Afrikaans and I just butchered that, I am extremely sorry, but I'll put it on screen what I was trying to say there, that place. Next is Protea, Moroka, Orange Farm, Midrand, Tembisa, Ivory Park, Pretoria West, Acacia, and Jabulani. Those are the areas in Gauteng that are most affected by car hijackings. Not to say that they're the only places where car hijackings happen in Gauteng. Those just happen to be the places where that is most rampant, and since Gauteng is the most affected province, these areas are most probably the most affected areas in the entirety of South Africa. So sleep well tonight if you live in any of these areas. Next up is Limpopo. One thing to understand about Limpopo is that areas that are affected mostly by hijackings are areas that are in close proximity to rivers that divide us from our neighboring countries, our African brothers there over in Zimbabwe and Mozambique and countries like that. I will go a bit deeper and elaborate on this a bit later on, but that's what you just need to know right now, is that areas in Limpopo that are affected a lot by hijackings are areas that are the closest to those countries. In the KZN, a majority of hijackings happen in townships and suburbs like this one. That's why I just got out. I didn't get out because I forgot to film the segment or anything like that. Yes, some of the hotspots in KZN are Begitemba, Inanda, Marion Hill, Tuzuma, and Umlazi. The next three provinces that I'm about to list aren't really the heaviest, they aren't really the worst, but car hijackings do happen just because it is South Africa. Starting with the Free State, Bloemfontein has been flagged as a hotspot. It is followed by Sasolburg. This is most probably where you're gonna get hijacked in the Free State, if you do even get hijacked at all. Once again, it's not really that high risk, but it does happen in the Free State. Moving on to Northwest, Rustenburg has been flagged as a hotspot. Artisdam, obviously a hotspot for obvious reasons, a lot of tourism happening in that area, so it makes sense why criminal syndicates would have interest in that area. A lot of traffic flowing in and out, especially during holidays and the festive season. And the final place that is a hotspot in the Northwest is Potchefstroom. In the Northern Cape, hijacking is virtually non-existent, with Kimberley being the only place that has been flagged as a hotspot. That is a hotspot in the context of the province, not in the context of the entire country. We've seen what Gauteng is capable of there. So yeah, not a lot of car crime happening in the Northern Cape. Kimberley, there is some happening, so we could say it is a hotspot, but considering that there were only 4 incidents recorded in the first quarter of 2024-2025, I don't think that it would be fair to even say Kimberley is a hotspot. Yes, hijackings do happen there, but Northern Cape in general, kind of safe. Sleep with one eye open, you're still in South Africa, but yeah, Northern Cape amongst one of the best in terms of hijackings. Moving on to the Eastern Cape, a province that has seen a 30% increase in car thefts in the first quarter of 2024-2025. So yeah, it's definitely getting up there with the 3 big boys that we're about to talk about. Hotspot areas in this province include Mount Road, Humewood, and Kariega areas. Yeah, Eastern Cape, definitely a province to be on the lookout for in terms of vehicular theft. It is on the rise there. Moving on to one of the big daddy final bosses of car theft in South Africa, the Western Cape. Alongside Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, Western Cape is one of the worst provinces in terms of vehicular theft, with over 60 cars hijacked, wait for it, every day. 60 cars every day. Imagine 60 cars in front of you, and then don't imagine those 60 cars in front of you because they've been stolen every day in the Western Cape. Don't know what they're busy with in this province, but it is definitely some serious business. 60 cars per day is kind of insane, I am not going to lie. The hotspots ranked from the worst to slightly less horrible but still pretty atrocious are Harare, Nyanga, Philippi, Lingeletu West, Deft, Samora Machel, and finally Khayelitsha. And what you will notice with all these areas I've just listed is that they are all under the city of Cape Town. So yeah, definitely a lot of interesting things happening in the beautiful city of Cape Town. Let's take a look at what you can do to fight back and ensure that you get to own the car that you've worked so hard for more than 3.5 seconds with today's video sponsor, Cartrak. Cartrak offers a slew of technological advancements that not only allow you to protect your vehicle while it's in your possession, but also give you a chance to recover it if you're unfortunate enough to have it taken from you. Their latest tracking units come with anti-jamming technology that allow their rapid response units that are stationed all over the country to recover your prized possession incredibly quickly. And with a 90% externally audited recovery rate, you can rest assured that their ground and air recovery units will get your car back. You also get to enjoy a 150,000 Rand recovery warranty when you get a tracking unit installed. T's and C's do apply. Their car watch technology also allows you to track your vehicle in real time through an app available on the iOS, Android, and even Huawei devices. Even if your car is in a remote area like this one, the app and control room can pinpoint its exact location, which is definitely going to come in handy, especially considering what we're going to be discussing later on. To get a free quote, click the link in the description. This is where you're going to end up. Just fill in your details, your name, your email, your phone number. Check these 2 boxes and press request a quote now to get yourself a free quote and free installation. So click the link in the description to get a free installation when you get a free quote. And thank you to Cartrak for sponsoring this video. Now that we've talked about where you're most likely to get hijacked and how Cartrak can get your car back if you get hijacked, let's talk about if, God forbid, you got hijacked and you couldn't get your car back. According to SAPS, 53% of stolen cars are resold with falsified documents like the, well, not like this one. This is just a awkwardly small piece of paper that is blank, but they are sold with falsified documents. The details that are within these falsified documents are normally details of cars that have either been written off, deregistered or legally owned but from out of the country. I don't need this piece of paper anymore. This is for demonstration. I'm gonna put that away. That is getting awkward now. Moving on, they then use these documents to create fake license discs, fake license plates, fake vehicle identification numbers or VIN or VIN. If you don't know what this is basically the car's ID number that it comes from the manufacturer, and it is one of the details that needs to go in a car's registration documents. Obviously, where you can find your VIN numbers is either somewhere here on your door sills, a lot of places in the engine, and some other places along the body. What they'll do is they will change the areas that are most likely to be found out, the areas that are most visible. So yeah, especially here around your dorsals, that's the first place that police check for stolen vehicles, and some visible places in your engine bay. There's also a VIN in your window, which is obviously the easiest one to check, so obviously they're gonna change that one also. It is amazing the scope of what criminals are able to do nowadays, just completely changing what a car is into something completely different that is not identifiable, unfortunately. Once the criminals have successfully changed all of this on your car with the details of the other car, the car that was either registered out of the country or a car that was deregistered or stuff like that, at this stage the car is successfully cloned. It's not your car anymore. It is now legally the car whose details were stolen, and at this point they can just sell the car back to you using a bunch of different reselling methods. They can do this using places like Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, or small dealerships that don't really have the systems in place to be able to thoroughly check a vehicle's background. So this is where buying from big places like your We Buy Cars and stuff like that. I'm not saying there aren't horror stories from We Buy Cars of people buying stolen cars. There probably are. I'm just saying your risk is much lower than buying from a much less credited a smaller dealership where you're not really sure where they source that car from. Remember, here it is beneficial for both the dealership and the criminals to sell the car back to you. The criminals sell the car to the dealership at a much discounted price than what retail would be, what they would pay at maybe an auction or buying it from a private seller. So it is very beneficial to make sure that you do your due diligence when buying a used car. Make sure that you're not getting burned in the process. The first two that I spoke about, being Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree, are also the biggest dangers, because there it is the easiest for criminals to catch you slipping. They don't have to comply with anything. As long as they have the falsified document of the car, you will never catch on that you've just bought a stolen car until your front door gets kicked in at 12 a.m. by subs when they come to repossess it, because it is not yours. So once again, just stressing the importance of really making sure that you do your due diligence when you buy a used car. Use vehicle history checks, pay for those. They are worth their weight in gold. And yeah, just be careful. Just be very careful when buying cars from third parties. 30% of cars that are stolen are smuggled into neighboring countries like your Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Botswana. This is most likely what will happen to your uncle's Hilux if it ends up anywhere near Limpopo. And unfortunately, like I said, that is a hotspot for smuggling because of its proximity to those rather naughty neighboring countries of ours. Now, in order for them to smuggle the cars across the borders, they'll normally find places where the border fence has already been cut due to some previous work. By previous work, I do mean some previous smuggling, yes. Or they'll find rivers shallow enough where they can drive the cars across into the other side. This is where those off-road cars come in handy. This is why a lot of those Land Cruisers, Hiluxes, Rangers, NP200s, all that type of good stuff ends up, well, not NP200. NP200 is quite small, but those big 4x4s, the double cab, and the big off-roady SUVs, they end up here because they're capable of crossing these rivers. We all know Toyotas can drive through anything, including a river into Zimbabwe. So yes, driving cars across rivers or across border fences, a very viable way to smuggle cars that are capable enough to handle that type of terrain. At the end of the day, once your car crosses that border or that river, it is gone. Kiss it goodbye. It is probably going to be either either resold in the country that it was smuggled into, or most probably exported into other African countries where these kinds of cars are very, very, very in demand, especially stolen ones from countries like ours. So yes, cross-border smuggling, a very real and very scary possibility of where your car might end up in the case that it gets stolen. 17% of stolen cars are dismantled in chop shops for their parts. This is most probably why your uncle's Polo TSI is as blind as a bat right now. It probably had its headlights stolen, which has become a very real and a very big problem in South Africa, especially for VW owners. I knew a guy who had a Polo GTI that was violated and had its lights stolen, and he was just driving it around for a few days without eyes, which was just really, really, really sad to see. So yeah, headlight theft, definitely something to be on the lookout for. Don't know what you could possibly do to prevent it at this stage. It is just one of those things that are just a big problem right now. Apart from Polo headlights, other hot commodities include airbags, wheels, body panels like doors, and basically anything else that can be taken off the car. If it has bolts attaching it to the chassis, it's probably going to get stolen. Stuff like the tailgates, this piece of metal that I now all of a sudden don't remember the name of, the windows. The car is stripped down to its bare bones until all you're left with is just the bare chassis. Then it's very easy to dispose of. At that point, you just kind of crush that or resell it to the Matt Armstrongs of this world. That is basically what happens to cars that get stolen and then get dismantled in chop shops, or for those of us unlucky enough, they're not even stolen, they just get dismantled in the parking lot of your local ShopRite. All of these parts that are taken off the car then resold on marketplaces like the ones that we talked about, your Facebook marketplaces, your Gumtrees, and your local scrapyard, most probably, because a lot of parts on cars don't have VINs on them. It's very easy to sell something like a door and not get caught doing it, unless you are a very, very, very stupid individual. But yeah, that's what ends up happening to those parts that are stripped off of stolen cars. Performance hatchbacks like M Sport 1 Series, Golf and Polo GTIs and stuff like that are used for a plethora of crimes such as cash in transit heists, armed robberies like phone snatchings and such, and house break-in. Obviously it makes sense why they would want to use quick little hatchbacks like this. A majority of these kinds of hatchbacks are able to outrun the average policeman if they have a particularly skilled getaway driver behind the wheel. That's why a lot of these hot hatches are sought after most of the time, is to be used in these types of crimes. Obviously, like I said in my last video, you don't want to be using something like a normal Polo TSI or, God forbid, a Polo Vivo to get away from the police when you've just done a cash in transit heist. That would not end well for you at all, my friend. So that's why they target these rather quick hatchbacks. Now yes, police do have some of these hot hatches, but things like M135Is, things like RS3 or even S3 hatchbacks can outrun your local JMPD GTI or 120i. That's just the fact of it. Even when the policeman in question is highly trained in high-speed pursuit, at the end of the day those cars are kind of just stupid fast. So yeah, that's why criminals favor them for use as getaway vehicles. That would be it for our rather interesting video today. I really enjoyed making this one. I really enjoyed researching and you know, getting into the deepest, darkest armpits of the internet, trying to find what could possibly happen to your car. Obviously using data from reputable sources like SAPS and Pineapple and stuff like that to try and give you guys a look at the criminal underbelly of car theft in South Africa. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment your thoughts down below, like the video if you did enjoy it, and until the next one, goodbye.